Hi, this is Tom from Hotfish, and in this video, I'll be talking to you about all the basics in line, what different types and things to look out for and to be aware of. And it's a very important thing. It is the only connection between you and that fish and getting it into where you can take pictures. So stay tuned to learn about line. Okay, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about line. There are three basic groups. You have your monofilaments, you have your fluorocarbons, and you have your super lines or braids as they call it. And all of them are labeled on the packages for the most part. All of them are rated by how many pounds of weight it takes to break them, and certain ones are better for beginners than others. And I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about that. Okay, I hope you don't mind looking at my hands for a while, but zooming in shows you a little bit better some of the things that I'm talking about. So as a beginner, what you want to look for is monofilament line. And for the most part, a lot of the companies label them on the box. There's three bits of information that are important that they tell you on the box. One is what type of line. In this case, it's monofilament. How much is on the spool? This has 660 yards. And also, you want to know how strong is it? How much weight can it hold before it breaks? In this case, this is 8 pound. For the most part, they all label what type of line it is. This one may be hard to see because it's a chrome lettering, but it says monofilament here. Same deal. It tells you that it's 6 pound, and let's see, somewhere on here it should say how much line is actually on here. Okay, inside here in the spool it says 330 yards. It says it also here on the bottom. Now, some brands don't say that it's monofilament. However, if it doesn't say that it's fluorocarbon or braid, it's pretty safe to assume that it's some type of monofilament. If you're confused or not sure, you can always ask a worker there and confirm that it is monofilament. This particular company, for some reason, doesn't say it on their packaging, but it doesn't say that it's fluorocarbon or braid. One thing I want to mention is when we talked about what the important things on the boxes, the labels are, the poundage and how much weight it takes to break the line. For starting out, for going bluegill fishing, I want you to start with either 4, 6, or 8 pound. It's not super critical, but I don't want you to get a line that is so high in strength that it'll be too thick to be using on your small reels and can cause you some problems. So for starting out, either pick 4, 6, or 8 pound monofilament, and it'll work good for you. Now, what I mean by monofilament being easier is it has very little memory to the line, meaning it tends to stay in the shape that it was laying in. In other words, if this is coiled on to a spool, it'll tend to want to stay that way, which makes it easier to manage. A fluorocarbon line tends to want to stay straight, and that can cause you some grief when you're putting this on a spinning reel. Fluorocarbon will tend to want to fly off of the spool, and let me show you that. When I talk about fluorocarbon being a stiffer line and could cause you problems as compared to monofilament, I've spooled up a couple of my daughter's reels, and on this reel I have spooled up 8-pound fluorocarbon, and on this one I have spooled up 8-pound monofilament. And the difference I want to show you is that could cause you problems is you'll notice as this is spooled up and I start to take the line off of it. I have it clipped in this. This is a little line holder. When I take this off, you'll notice that it doesn't come off the spool unless I pull it off of the spool, which is what you want for a beginner. It makes it easy to deal with on your rod. Now, when I take the one that has fluorocarbon on it and I start to peel it off, you'll notice, did you see all the line that flew off of the spool? It wants to stay straight, so just be very wary on when you pick your line. That's the reason why I say stick with monofilament for beginners, so you're not fighting this situation. No doubt fluorocarbon definitely has its advantages. One huge one being that it's the most clear line that you can get, meaning it almost has the refraction of water. So when you think about wanting your bait to look as natural as possible, this will be less likely to look like you have a line going down to your bait. And you can see that if you compare them in the store, this being your mono and this being fluorocarbon. If you compare the two, this is much more clear than this. This almost, when you see it like this, wound on itself, it almost has a cloudy look to it. And that's just the nature of the materials that they make it out of. The other advantage that fluorocarbon has is that it has very low stretch. So by having a line that has less stress or stretch to it, some people believe that you can detect your bites, subtle bites, a little bit better. And I believe that too, but the big downside in this is that it'll want to fly off your spool if you're using a spinning outfit. Now your super lines or your braids, they give the same information, how much is on the spool and how much weight does it take to break that line. And typically with the braids, it'll be much, much higher at the same diameter of a line. In this case, this is 8-pound diameter, which means that it's as thin as an 8-pound monofilament. However, the breaking strength on it is 30 pounds, which is really, really high. So it's an incredibly strong line. A couple of the downsides in it is it's really hard to cut. You need to have a good pair of scissors to cut it, so you could fight with it a little bit. Also, they can't make it clear, so you'll see this one is like a darkish green in color. So you just have to value what you're going to use a line for and whether it will work for you or not. But I just wanted to give you a lowdown on some of the benefits of the different lines and some of the things to watch out for when you're picking a line. But for the most part, my recommendation is start with monofilament. Also, I should add that I want you to pick a clear line. For starting out and for your best chances on catching fish, I'd say stay away from the colored lines, stay away from and stick with the clear lines. You'll see here that this is clear, this is clear. You'll see some that will be green colors, you'll see some reds, you'll see even clear blue, which has almost a fluorescent quality to it. Without a doubt, try and stick with as clear as possible. You don't want the fish to detect that there's something connected to that bait, because it'll create, your bait won't look as natural as you want it to, and the fish will pick up on that.